And as you slowly exhale and you experience these poets, you will allow yourself to be exposed to something that nobody knows, how it is that Houston has grown to be able to rise to the occasion and understand that their pens have been so ignited by ink that we have allowed ourselves to think past the limits of days to come to a place where we can articulate our pain in the most celebrated of phase, just to understand what it's like to give reason to snap or clap or find someone's keys to jingling, because there is no reason why you cannot say that Houston produces greatness.
P.E.N.S, poetic energy needed in society. It was just a whole different dynamic with regards to live entertainment.
You know, the doors would open at 6. Man, there would be people standing outside, shadow bar, 4:30, 5 o'clock.
I hear the stories about Mr. A's and Yoga House and Shadow Bar.
And all they cared about was the poetry. So you really had to spit. Like,
poetic energy needed in society.
You know, poetic energy is just that energy. It can't be contained, can't be boxed up, and it's unapologetic.
Poetic energy to me means just being true to yourself and sharing your truest self with everybody else.
But like that's the energy of it, man. It's so good, man, that you can't help but to show it some type of love, some type of appreciation, man.
I just didn't know how to express myself. You expressed myself for me. And so it is a voice for the voiceless. It's like this soothing sound that just speaks to our soul, our hearts, our minds.
My name is Cecily Janae Jones, poetically known as Sunny Sea Light. I was born in Jackson, Tennessee. Been in Houston long enough to call it home now. Poets have a way to communicate effectively. We're creative with it. We have a way to get the point across. And that's what I think that means as a society. We just need to communicate more, find a way to talk to one another. Poetry is my love. My love I have for so many individuals, my boyfriend, my children, my family. I put that into my poetry. So it's a give and take type of thing. It's always reciprocated each way. So that's why they both really go hand in hand to me. I've dubbed myself a motivoid, which is a motivational poet. So every poem I have, regardless of if it's something that starts off talking about the bad side, I always want to end it on the upside, because that's something we got to realize in life. It goes on, regardless of what you're going through. I know it hurt right now, but it goes on. So it's just finding that balance between the two.
Y'all, love is to make you feel warm and just excite you from within. You see, love should be all that encompasses our entire being. For love is that fruit that just keeps on multiplying. It ain't lying, it's just complying to what the love is. So don't be blinded by the lust that has you misguided. Ain't no denying. I spent a lot of nights crying, wondering why did men just keep lying, and wondering why I just can't move on. Like Simon says, let me see your phone. Let me call this number. Come here, let me smell your. Let me see you do it one more time. And that's so much wasted time that we just can't get back. And in the middle of all this lesson, they find you could have been hitting it from the back. But love, it has flourished in places that were once so dry. Just give it a chance, and I'm sure love will provide you with everything you need. And with every fruit you ever wanted sprouting from this one single tree. For love has shown its light to me. Even in darkness I can see. The love that I have for you, it illuminates the path for my spirit to thee. Oh, how I love love.
Yes. I always want to bring positivity, sunny sea light. Just like the sun, my words make you see the light. It's going to reignite the flame that once burned deep down inside. So for a long time, I was lost. I didn't have hope. I didn't have faith. And so I know what it's like to feel like you don't have anybody there. And so I want my poetry to communicate to those people who feel like nobody's there. And it's like, oh, okay, she gets it. She's been there with me. So that's what it's about.
Do you have those audience members meet you after the show?
Yes. That's the best part of it. When someone comes to you after a performance, or even when you think that it wasn't received because you don't hear the oohs, the ahs, the claps, the snaps. But for just one person, that's all it has to be. One person to come up to you and say, man, that's exactly how I was feeling, or you have no idea, I was just talking about this today, this was right on time. So it's always that reassurance, that confirmation that what you're saying and what you're doing is what you're supposed to be saying and doing. Houston is like a hot spot right now. Everywhere I turn, I see talent. Like, it's so much talent here in Houston. And I feel that we need to all work together a little bit more, and that could help us go a little bit further. Regardless, this is going to grow. It has to grow because it's so saturated at this point. It's so many individuals touching this pot. I'm ready for us to go international, nationwide, worldwide, wherever we can go, wherever we're meant to be. I feel like Houston's poetry can definitely take us there. So I'm just waiting. I got my ticket. I'm just waiting on the flight.
They don't for your problems, they don't give a damn about us, but don't be late from your break. Same shit, just another day, my nigga.
What we do here, we respect the mic. You're gonna respect the artist. And if you don't, you're gonna get told. You're gonna get toast, or you're gonna get checked. And we're serious about that here in Houston, Texas. Once you train the audience how to treat the artist, everything else falls in place because it's an experience. You make them part of the experience. When you learn how to make them part of the experience, they feel as responsible for the energy in the room as you do, as a producer or as an artist. Dante Higgins, Southside Houston, Texas. Man, I started picking the pen up in middle school. Started picking, well, actually I was freestyling first, you know, big pokehead, you see, screwed up click, I was a screwhead, so I started freestyling, and then one of my best friends, closest friends, Mac, had a studio, everything. He taught me how to write bars, how to write lyrics. So once I started writing bars and lyrics, I took off from middle school all the way up into now. Writing. Kiki is one of the reasons why I rap today. Kiki, Pokey, Fat Pat. My uncle grew up with Big Pokey, Big Mo, the screw shop was right up the street in my neighborhood. So just seeing them all the time, being able to be around them, they was Jay-Z and all them to me. So that made me want to be a rapper in my era coming up. Stephanie Benson, she was hooked up with Seven the Poet. She was doing the poet. She do poet battles. Was doing all that. So I actually went to see her one night. And Seven the Poet, you know, he a big fan of my music. He bought my merch, everything. So he found out I was in the building. He pulled me to. He's like, man, you gotta do something. So I'm like, I gotta do. I mean, I had never did poetry before. I always do it. I'm doing music. I'm like, oh, okay, I got my jump drive. He's nah, this poetry. You gotta get up there and spit it. I said, okay, cool. I say, shoot, by what time you want me to go on? He said, man, you gonna go towards the end. I said, all right, well, cool. I run out to the car, did a little practicing, you know what I'm saying? Got it down in my head how I want to do it. Seeing how the other poets was playing along with the crowd and how they was interacting. Got upstairs, got on stage, killed it, and I've been doing it ever since.
Police brutality. Police brutality. I can't believe I'm up here rapping about police brutality. I ain't come here to battle you, and I hope you ain't come here to battle me. Why battle each other when we can hit the streets and battle the police? Blue lives do matter, and what I'm about to say, I hope they do get mad at me. The casualties, kill a man in his own home, that's blasphemy. A white cop going to jail for killing a black man, that's like looking up in the sky and seeing a rainbow color unicorn. My homeboy cop, we don't even speak when he in uniform. I had a homeboy that go to jail for a few blunts of rolled up grass in a state where weed is legal. Nigga, I know that made you mad. He said they took his wallet, took his phone, and took all his cash. He took his shades off. I stepped back like, damn, Red. Debo must have whooped your ass. Nigga, you had to do more than that. He said, nah, I was in a little town trying to get down and the cops wasn't with it. I popped off at the mouth and they beat my ass. Worse than the Detroit Pistons. I said, nah, nigga, they beat your ass. Worse than Muhammad Ali did Sonny Liston. Nah, nigga, matter of fact, they beat your ass. Worse than that chicken did Peter Griffin. Nigga, they must have thought you was riding the king.
Poetry is about getting a reaction from the people, whether snapping fingers, shaking their keys, the facial reactions. If you're not getting none of that, you're not doing nothing. If you're not hearing the oohs and ahs, then you just gonna be. So when I write every line, I write to try to get a reaction. Like, oh, I'm gonna get the women to say, oh, I know the men gonna like this. And with poetry, I always try to be on the women's side. Women love poetry. It's gonna be full of women in there. Don't go in there thinking you finna be the manliest man ever, and you just finna shut down our women. You go in there, I'm on the women's side every time. Just like me, you got poets that are poet stars in Houston. You got 7 a poet. Everywhere was 7 gold. Black, you got Lady 380. You got so many poets that's known poets that's known for P.E.N. that's dangerous. Ain't too many rappers gonna get up there with them and try to do anything with a lot of these poets. These poets are dangerous. So for them to welcome me into their arena of what they do and say, hey man, you cold, I always make sure I always give top respect, show respect to everybody. I let them know y'all the coldest, this is what y'all do. Thanks for welcoming me in. I'm gonna get up here. I ain't gonna let y'all down. I'm gonna spit the hardest I can spit. Cause I know if I'm performing music, out of 10 people performing that night, 9.5 of them gonna be whack. 9.5 of them gonna be whack. You gonna blow, but that poetry, out of 10 people doing poetry, almost 8 of them gonna blow the crowd away. You don't want to be those 2 that, oh nah, he wouldn't. Nah, you gotta leave your mark every night on that poetry scene.
Screw tape, chop, chop. 84 chop, chop. Screw tape, chop, chop. 84 chop, chop. Screw tape, chop, chop. In the 84s chop, chop. Screw tape, chop, chop. In the 84s chop, chop. They don't even understand the flow. White marble iron hands the flow. Outcast, so fresh and so clean, I wipe it down with some hand soap. Inside's like a cantaloupe. Shine lock so you can't elope. Sticking and moving. Red box for the movie. Screen dropping from the back seat. If your foes clacking, that's bad feet. No rims, that's bare feet. If I pick you up, then that's cab.
My name is Robert Timmons, aka Slight. One of the things that I've learned in writing poetry is that a poem that isn't based in truth just naturally isn't going to be as good as one that is. You can be the dopest poet in the world with the best bars, but if that poem's not rooted in truth, it's not going to connect with people. Connection is what makes poetry so strong. And so for me, every time I sit down to write, I make sure that I'm writing from truth. I'm writing from my experiences or my thoughts so that it's rooted in something real, and that's going to be able to translate to the audience. And it's what's going to help me process through what that emotion is. And sometimes, there actually was an opportunity I had to write a poem for one of my good friends for her wedding. And I wrote the poem dedicating it to her and her husband, and I literally interviewed them, and I said, what does love mean to you, and how did y'all meet, why do you love this person, etc., etc. And so I wrote the poem from their point of view and made it to where she could say it to him or he could say it to her. So in that case, it wasn't necessarily rooted in my truth, but it was rooted in their truth, and their love is like the truth of that poem.
I will be the sower of your seed and the soil beneath your roots. I will be the light shining on your limbs, filling you with knowledge, love, and truth. I will stand by you through all your seasons as you sprout in the spring and as you blossom in the summer, as you fade in the fall and as you wither in the winter. And I will repeat those cycles again and again because I can see your beauty marks. I will constantly prune away all of your flaws of which you shouldn't be ashamed because they will make you perfectly imperfect. And allow you to outlast the rain, which will only allow you to experience so that you can grow. See, I will go through all the hardships of your harvest because we reap what we sow. I will make sacrifice after sacrifice. I just need you to know that I love you, and I am never letting go. I will stand by you when you're up and when you're down, when you're wrong and when you're right, when you fight and when you fail. And I'll be right here, waiting for you to get back up and let your victory prevail. I will stand by you second after second and day after day, and I will always love you, no matter what the world could ever say. And I'll still love you, even when you fall in love with another man. I said, I'll still love you, even when you fall in love with another man, because I know that he can love you in ways that I never can. But I will always see your beauty marks, and I will fight to understand, because you are as vast as an ocean, and my love, it flows to you like water. So I pray that you can hear these words that I write to you, my unborn daughter.
Well, so it's funny, so with that particular poem, it was a surprise to me when I was writing it, just like it was a surprise to the audience when they heard it. So that poem, I was asked to do a woman's appreciation event and to write a poem showing our appreciation for women. And so as I sat down to write the poem, I was like, yeah, that's cool, because I think lots of times, especially within the Black community, women are always at the forefront of fighting for Black men, but men aren't always at the forefront for fighting for women. And for me, it's not a case of not wanting to or not feeling the need to, but more so not really understanding how. So I wanted to write a poem saying that I wanted to let women know that, hey, I see what's going on. I understand how the world looks at you. I'm going to stand here with you. Let me know what you need from me so that I can be that support you need. And so as I was writing the poem, I was thinking about my mother, my sister, past girlfriends, aunts, grandmothers, all those women in my life who have helped made me who I am. And I'm going through, but just naturally, love typically looks like romance for us. And when I was writing it, I was thinking that I'm speaking to a girlfriend or a wife. But as I was analyzing it and going through it, I said, I'm not speaking to a lover. Like, I'm not speaking romantically. Like, I'm speaking to somebody else trying to encourage them. And I said, oh shoot, I was speaking to my daughter, which was crazy for me because at this point in my life, I was, about to graduate college, or maybe I had just graduated. And I'm thinking, yo, I don't have a daughter, but that love that I would think that a father has for his daughter, like that's the love that I already had. And I wanted to showcase that in me loving her and her like growing up, I was there. And so in the moment of her not even being conceived yet, I can see everything that she's going to be and what the world's going to see, and I wanted to prepare her for that.
My name is Yolan Young, aka Yolan the Poet's Poet. It was just a magic blend that just happened because I was watching the actual documentary Soul Power where James Brown and Don King got together and said, hey, let's do this for the community. We're going to have this fight with Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. We're going to have it in Zaire. You know what I mean? Where pretty much we have jurisdiction over there, James Brown is one of the most prolific hip-hop poets, if you know it. Don King, he spit his poetry to the pimping style, But that's where it came from. But as it grew, it started seeing all the different cultures of Black people from different culture backgrounds. And then you start seeing the mass of all of us, and it was like soul power. That's how it hit. So then when it hit, then it started hitting with all of our leaders that was assassinated just for trying to improve the betterment of us. That's where that came from. You know what I mean? So it really was one of those, okay, I see what you're saying. I see where you want me to go with. All right, this is where it is. And that's where soul power came from. This came from actually watching our people, doing a study and say, okay, where can you contribute so they know, even though they're not here no more, they know, we still ride, we still here for you. And that's where that came from. Wow. Yeah.
I am Soul Power. 1974 Zaire. Rumble in the jungle. Titled and labeled as an animal. I make money clear. Feel what they do not know. Plus I am black and I am proud, and it shows in tanning with blackness. From the top of this earth to the bottom of this axis, that's 30 seconds from popping off with 30 dudes all draped in blue with a Zulu sweaters on. Tokening our essence. For our protection. We kept them second guessing because they pulled out the Smith & Wessons and hung all the sinners adolescents with no hesitation. Those gorillas Transforming an educated ape to bust out of your mistake. Only to create a new era of blue rag holders and West Coast bankers. Red rag toters and West Coast bombers that'll pop you at a drop of a dime. That's when I realized I was so powerful. And we devoured these snakes that raped and consumed our mother's wombs and just for kicks, made each other, hate each other's dark and light-skinned colors, even though we are blood brothers, coming from the same mothers, walked the same soil, wore the same cloth, embraced the same yellow sun, hugged them same sons, now they spit them guns back at you. The king in me cannot rest, for I've seen bullets rain down like hailstorms. It's July 4th every day on my turf, but them firecrackers scream another form of independence. The king in me is enraged. The caged lion is ready to break free, so how can they say that crime does not pay for every country carries their case, and if this is the last of days, I'm gonna activate my soul.
There's different, just like music, there's different genres of poetry, right? You got your Edgar Allan Poe, you know what I mean? You got your Maya Angelou, you know, there's a list, you got your Robert Frost, you got, you know, so you got your English competitors that's here, thou, Shakespeare, that, you know what I mean? But then when you get to, you talking about street culture, like, you know what I mean, the Dead Prez, you know what I mean, the Fabulous Five, you know what I mean, the Last Poets, you know what I mean. When you get into these cats, you know these cats is up here in Harlem, you know, spitting on top of buildings and stuff. Come on. So you know, if that's not your ethnicity or your background, but you starting to spit like that, come on, man. Come on, man. And we saw that happen with rap, but we saw what happened with jazz. We saw it happen with bebop. You see rock and roll. We see, but the difference is that we not keep inventing ourselves. This is just who we are. It's our melanin. You know what I mean? We see the dances that you see us doing now. You can go back to Africa right now and look at the video from 1920 when they first saw and see twerking back then. Come on, man. So we've been flopping and dropping, you know, doing it, and that's just us. And that's the essence that we continue to keep. It's just we don't get the monetary gain from it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? We're just now in the process of, in today's society, of actually having owners, black owners, starting to come out of different places and starting to regroup with it. That's the thing that's holding us up. So I call it the golden era right now. We're in the golden era where, you know, yeah, it's some things still we need to work on. Absolutely. You know, they still trying to find, absolutely. But we are doing a whole lot better before, you know, we was doing before.
Wow, that's good.
Oh, yeah, it's the best feeling. Especially from our elders. That's the best feeling. You know what I mean? For them to come out and then them to get, you know, touch your hand, you feel that energy and they say thank you. You know, thank you. But just these different poems that I would do, you know, when you don't hear while you're doing the poem, doesn't bother me. It's the class and the stance, and then when they come up and like, thank you, please don't stop. That's who I do it for. That's who I do it for. When I get asked to come to these schools, that's what I do it for. You know what I mean? Because it's more so, I'm gonna be good. I tell people like that. I don't be good. I don't do this to try to make $1 million. Everything that's come from this, stage plays, interviews, magazines, radio, that's fine and dandy. I love that, and I thank God for those fans and those people. But it's that person, it's that elder that's letting me know you good. We need this. Our youth need this. Your people need this. We need this. I can't stop, man, because now it's an obligation. When my Baba told me, he said, yo, after, you know, I told you about the condition, he said, man, you can't be a warrior out there, because I was on the front line all the time, right? He said, now you got to be a leader now. You know what I mean? He said, but learn what Zal had taught. You know what I mean? He said, always be prepared for war, but understand on how to build and peaceful in your garden. So you can walk through your garden with your sword. So know both values. So that taught me a whole lot. All right, always be trained and be ready for if the action have to come. Don't mean you want it to come, but be ready for it. But at the same time, walk in love and peace and teach and lead this way, because we ain't got enough no more.
Alone in the cold room, contemplating on taking these narcos or living life to accomplish my life goals. You see, I'm really scared to do this, but I'm tired of wearing this happy mask, so I figure if I do it this way, then the pain won't last. Seeing life like a sitcom in the 50s, black and white, with a bad connection, got me searching for my higher power. I'm starting to second guess. I'm like, I thought I was your child. Why you put me through this mess? And then I heard a voice. If you take your life, you won't see what's next. Looking around confused, as if I didn't have my glasses on. But if that's you, higher power, then please don't steer me wrong, because I'm guilty of losing faith, but I trust your work, because this is not my first suicide attempt and the other 20 times didn't work. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to feel. I'm tired of crying. I just want to be healed.
I love the fact that a lot of people are diverse. I think it's important when you want to actually have shows. You don't want to have, everybody can't be the best, or what I would consider, you know, the best for me. I've seen poets that I don't necessarily care for perform, but people in the audience like them. Like, it's a place for everybody, and that's how I feel. I won't say that no one has inspired me or made me want to say like, man, that's a good topic. I want to write about that. I have a story about that, and I want to write about that. But I've never heard a poem and be like, oh man, now I don't even want to go no more because they didn't. You know, like, people love me because I'm me. People love them because they're them. And I think that if more people had the same attitude in the poetry community, then there wouldn't be so much division. Like, you just can't be the best at everything. Like, you know, everybody has their own lane, and I'm comfortable in mine. Like, you know, hey, it is what it is.
Like a lamp being shoved off the nightstand, broken bulb fragments scattered across the floor, I watched as my mother's light started to lose its shine. Shocked by a blow from a lover who was half full, her glasses now flying across the room, they had to have both been artists. Her face, his canvas, with each stroke he'd paint his anger and anguish, and then she'd paint right over the blacks of his blues. Come on. What happens when disagreements turn into wrestling matches? He's laying the smack down as a 4-year-old yells from the crowd, "Get off my mama!" Come on. Baby, we're just playing. Go back to your room, escapes faintly through the grip around her throat, and I choke. How could these scrawny little arms lift the weight of my mother's pain? How could they engage in mortal combat before temperatures of sub-zero caused me to get over here in a corner and freeze? Why can't she finish him, be finished with him? That would be the ultimate flawless victory. I'm so afraid that if I don't pray hard enough that it may end in a fatality. So dear God, please grant my mother the serenity not to take her frustrations out on me. I wasn't trying to talk back, I was only clarifying. See, I'm trying to be perfect for her so that we can be perfect for him, so that he won't have to hit her and I won't have to think about killing him. Amen.
I feel like, you know, in anything that you do, and poetry is just not excluded. I think that some men may look at the women and be like, oh yeah, good job, or you know, whatever, but I don't think that we actually are opened, we have the same opportunities afforded to us versus a male poet. You have people that get along well together, and then you just have people that don't. Because
the buddy system.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, it's kind of like just if you look at it like regular life, if everybody has the same end goal, then it shouldn't matter what role you have to play in order to get there, especially if you know that you can get there better doing it collectively or as a team. What happens is people know that they're an artist. When you have the artist side and you have the back side, and you know that you're a really good artist, you can be a dope artist and you just do really bad business. And some people do really good business and they're not such a good artist. So when you have people on your team that you can collectively do good business and, you know, do good artistry, that's a win-win situation. But everybody is not like that. Some people can do business and can be dope poets, but then at the end of the day, they still want to be snakes. Like, everybody want to try to get to a certain level and then, like, you know, leave you behind or eat off your plate, pretty much.
Which creates a divide.
When you're constantly trying to be battling against someone, or, you know, thinking that, oh, well, one side is doing this and we not doing that, but I want to do this, or this person got this from me, and that like, everybody could just come together and it could be much smoother transaction. You know, like, it doesn't have to include all of the, well, I don't want to do this with this person or do that with that person. Everybody's just upfront and real and just work. Like, that's it.
AJ McQueen.
All right, where you from?
St. Louis, Missouri. You know, man, Houston's second home. So Houston is my love. Poetic energy, it just sounds like creativity at its purest form. You know what I'm saying? So just the purity of it. That's what it sounds like to me. Keeping it organic. You know what I'm saying? Keeping the art liberal. It ain't conservative art, just liberal. So to me, you know, poetic energy is just that. It's energy. It can't be contained, can't be boxed up, and it's unapologetic. Yeah, for sure. You know, I mean, when I first started, man, my mama, she used to always be like, boy, you either gonna be a president or you gonna be a rapper or a speaker.
What year is this?
You heard me? I don't know. I was a youth. I was probably like 8 years old, 9 years old. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's when I first started expressing myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I was abused as a child, so I was sheltered. I won't say sheltered. I was put into an environment where I had to shelter my expression, because I was afraid of what would happen. But when I would have these flashes of energy, my mom she'd be like, boy. And so I knew that I had a gift, you heard me, of expression. I didn't know how it would turn into, you know, what it would turn into rather. And next thing you know, man, I'm speaking in the hood. I'm the leader. I'm the spokesperson in the hood. You heard me? We playing two-hand touch football, and I'm the one who, you know, organizing. I'm the organizer. You know what I'm saying? So I knew I was gonna be in front of people somehow. Who would have thought it would have been poetry? You know what I'm saying? To be the thing that allowed me to express myself in its purest form. Like, I don't scratch anything out. Like, you got poets that want to write a specific topic, you heard me, and whatever. I'm guilty of exactly what I said is what I said. You know what I'm saying? And so if it don't fit that poem, or if it don't fit that event, I've never been that type of poet. You know, oh man, well look, it's a love event, so we need you to do that one about love. No, I'm gonna do what I feel. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do exactly what I feel. And it got me to a place where, you know, where I'm at now, to where now I live off of my art. You know what I'm saying? I've created jobs off of my art. I have a whole movement off of my art. You know what I'm saying? So I knew that I had to, my mom was still in the hood, but, you know what I'm saying? So I knew I had to evolve what I do, you know what I'm saying? And I want to create a legacy, so I couldn't just be AJ the poet. I have to be AJ the artist, you know what I'm saying? I have to evolve this thing and challenge myself to get outside of what's comfortable and what's and start embracing what's intimidating sometimes, but have courage to do it. And now, man, I get to travel all over the country. You know what I'm saying? I to see and to do what I love to do. And I remember when I was told when our family members was about to do this, hey, like, man, you can't get paid off of that. Then I made $500, then I made $1,500, then I made $3,000, then I made $5,000. You know what I'm saying? And for 30 minutes, man, sometimes. So, you know, when you operating in purpose, man, ain't no ceiling. St. Louis is that Ferguson's. It was ground zero. You know what I'm saying? For all this, Black Lives Matter started. You know what I'm saying? All that. You heard me? So for me, as a creative and as an artist, you know, I knew it was my responsibility to make sure that I use my platform for that. But prior to this happening, I had already been awarded by President Obama. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's on the wall up there. I already got a congressional certificate from Congress. So I had all this stuff going on, and I was an activist. But that for me it hit me like never before. You know what I'm saying? So I knew that I need to use my voice, you know what I'm saying? And going back to the pen, I knew I need to use my pen. I knew I need to tell a different story. One specific time, we in front of Ferguson PD, you know what I'm saying? The police department, and they across the street. And it's a picture online somewhere. Like one of my homeboys had took a picture. But you see me with my fist up, and you see a whole line, like, and I'm talking about they was ready to shoot. You heard me? Like, they was that whole night, man. They was putting their infrared beams in our eyes, bro. Imagine being out there and you got infrared beam on your forehead. You know what I'm saying? Your homies getting locked up in front of you. All that. We marching. You know what I'm saying? Front line. You heard me? I've always been a frontline person. You know, even when I try to play the background and be low key, it's the energy that I get pulled forward. You know what I'm saying? Cause I'm not afraid though. You hear me? I got courage.
Like purpose.
Yeah, if I'm gonna die by it, I'm gonna die by it. The Bible says we are God's workmanship. When you translate that back into Hebrew, that's poema. And then you take that and translate it back, then that means poem. Right. You know what I'm saying? So we're literally a walking poem. We're still creating as we go. So I would be remiss if I just leave it to just the pen, even though, you know, but we are a pen. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. But just that instrument, because what if they run out of ink? You heard me? What if they banned all the pens ever in life? Do you stop creating? Nah, we just gotta dig deeper. You heard me? So yeah, that's where I'm at. The pen is stronger than the gun. You know what I'm saying? And that's my motto for my nonprofit organization, Writer's Block. You know what I'm saying? The pen is stronger than a gun. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand what you have and the power of what you have. You heard me? Me, I'm a lyricist, like, and I take pride in that. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking metaphors, similes, hyperboles. You know what I mean? We entendre, double entendre, triple entendre. You know what I mean? Challenging mindsets, bro. Making people mind collapse while you up there talking. You know, when I leave this earth, I want to leave on my pen, bro. You know what I'm saying? You know the saying, they want to leave on their sword. I want to leave on my pen, bro. On my gift. On my purpose, bro. 1,000. You heard me? Real rap.
My name is Courtney Lynn, and I'm from West Houston, Texas. My first stage was Poetry Lounge Sundays at Sugar Hill. I went maybe about a month straight, and every time I went, I didn't have a piece memorized. So finally, when I got it down, I was like, I'm gonna get up there, I'm gonna do it. And boy, if you were to see that first video from then up until now, it's a completely different person. Anything that I write is going to be about experiences that I have. I pull from today, tomorrow, you know, yesterday. I'll pull from things that happened years ago. So anything that is put on a pad and pen and expressed verbally by me is something that I've experienced. Or maybe a friend or family member.
I be wanting to think of you less, but you remind me of how much you reduce my stress. Maybe you're more like an antidepressant. If only you would help with the side effects, we'd be a match made in heaven. But instead, at times I endure nausea and thoughts that I can't control, so I want to throw them up to get them out of my soul, but then anxiety takes a stroll. And the tampering, it starts with my mind, and it works its way down to my heart, and the pain that I feel, I wish I never let you in, even to start to break me. You work your way down to my lungs. You make it impossible for me to breathe. If only you would breathe life back into me like I've done for you, continually. But instead at this moment, my nigga, you're drowning me.
A lot of the times after the shows, you know, I have several, you know, people. I have a poem where I have, every time someone hears that poem, it touches them, and they've heard it several times, and they're like, look, this poem, every time I hear it, I cry. And I'm like, man, it's difficult for me to get through that poem because I cry too, you know, so I get it, but I enjoy the fact that they can hear it and feel it the way that I feel it, like as if they were writing it themselves or they were reciting it themselves. One of the biggest shows that I've done, you know, as far as not my own, would be the Dope Art Show. Toby, one of Houston rappers, he has a Dope Art Show, and right after Hurricane Harvey hit, he had a show called Farewell Harvey. We had to, of course, audition, and he picked me for as one of the poets. My segment, or our segment, was called Black Girl Magic. So that was a really, really dope show. Being in front of a crowd of a smaller nature made me more nervous than a huge crowd. And I don't know, I guess it was the personal part of it. Right. When you're in front of a crowd of 50 people, you know, it gives you less room to mess up. You know, people are looking at you, they're like, okay, you know, but a couple of hundred, if you mess up in front of that crowd, everybody's not gonna notice. And so it's kind of backwards for me, but I do enjoy performing in front of a large crowd because you get, you know, people who haven't seen you and who will tell someone else to come see you. You gain new people who want to be a fan of yours or who want to come out and support you. So that I do enjoy that aspect of it. Being in the production process of a show is a lot more work than people may think. It's not easy. You know, when you have to get your artists together, set up meetings, you know, make sure that we hold an expectation to what kind of show we're going to put on. We have things that we have to follow, and having that and selling tickets, you know, and then staying on top of artists who are selling tickets. All of that comes into part of a production, and, you know, that is difficult in itself. It's a lot of, in the poetry community, there's different personalities. So everybody's not going to get along. And when people see that you're doing things different, or I'll just put it in my case, I'm newer to the scene, so I'm not as, you know, I'm new, I'm fresh. So the fact that we are doing things that other poets who have been around for a longer amount of time, things can get ugly. People can say ugly things, you know, so things get back, and, you know, take it with a grain of salt and keep on moving. But that's the problem. I think the poetry community now coming into it, I see where older people and younger have disagreements, and they let that instead of working those out, they talk to somebody else about it, and then talk to somebody else. So then that leads to a bunch of drama, and I stay out of it. You know, but I hear about it all the time. And of course, like I said, everything that I hear, I take it with a grain of salt and keep on pushing, because nobody gonna stop me or my grind.
My city is under attack by vultures hovering along our city skyline, feasting on the culture. How our trunks bump, 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 but it's more than a little fizz in the soda. When it rains, the bayous runneth over. Neighbors bayou run over, pouring out love, double cups clutch. When it's time to swing, jump in the ring, quicker than the game of double dutch. Houston, H-Town, the H, home, the innovators, and the creators. On Sundays, we shine the brightest, slow, loud, and banging, silencing the stress, taking our chance to be heard, to be seen. Why do you think the candy paint gleams? As a teen, I grew up a screw-up, wanting to be a baller. I-45 taught me to be someone. Ebony Rose, out.
My name Joshua Kodak Kaskin, man. Yeah, straight out of Houston, Texas, Acres home, you know. Man, I broke my leg playing football, so I needed an outlet. Sitting up on that sofa, leg hiked up, all in a spleen. You know, basically what I did, I just found deaf poetry. I started writing poetry around that time. I was 17 years old. I was going to Eisenhower High School. I had a teacher, her name was Miss Grimble. She asked me, while everybody doing their class assignments, she asked me, hey, I want you to look up Seven the Poet. No joke. I'm 17 years old. I just came back from being on break with my leg being broke. I'm in class on YouTube looking up Seven. It was dope, man. And when I found Seven, like, she was like, yeah, man, he's in Houston, Texas. He's doing this, he's doing that. I'm like, all right, cool. I graduated high school because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to go, like, you know, in high school. I only got a high school ID and things like that. But when I graduated, I still wasn't old enough to get in, but Self let me in, man. He let me in, he let me start touching the stage. And that was my first time networking with other poets at Sugar Hill, actually, on Sugar Hill, yes sir, on south side of Houston. Man, I went in there, man, it was big. Different poets, different groups, they had different teams and cliques, and it was crazy, you know what I mean? Like, goddamn, y'all look like Death Row and, you know what I'm saying, Junior Mafia and them, you know. Yeah, man, but it was dope to be able to come in there and it feel like family. Everybody just took me in. You know, I was, of course, the youngest on the scene, but they treated me like it was time for me to man up, and they seen what I had in me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I seen what I had in me.
Right.
That was the main thing. I always tell people it's hard for me to write about something that I've never been through. You know, and through growing up, I'm only 24. You know, through growing up, I've found, well, I ran into a lot of incidents. You know, where my mom said most of the things that most other kids' moms said, you know, beat your ass, you don't do this, do that, and, close the door, you're gonna run the light bill up, you know, stupid shit like that. But like, it was something that stuck through me, you know, it stuck to me. And I was able to use it in my poetry, you know. Grew up with a logical mom, you know what I mean? Something didn't make sense, you need an ass whooping, you know, like she was just that logical about it, you know what I mean? And I feel like it helped my poetry a whole lot, man. It helped me grow in it.
Wow. I'm laying here, watching my life flash like the lights before my eyes. Not sure if I did wrong, or my mama just didn't raise me right. Before the officer could ask for my information, I could hear mama saying, boy, obedience is better than sacrifice. And some others say, please don't do it again. But my mama said, do it again if you want to. And some others say, if you guys don't sit down, I'm gonna turn the car around. But my mama would promise an ass whooping, pull the car over, waiting for her to come around to my door. It was like waiting for the officer to approach the window. Her hand already on the belt. Buckle sound like clanking cuffs, itching to clean to color wrist. She snatched me out the car like, boy, this gonna hurt me. Way more than it hurt you. Respect your elders. Never talk back, I'ma beat the back off of you, cause if I don't, somebody else will. Boy, I brought you into this world, and I'll take you out, looking like your damn daddy.
After I started jumping around the city, it's this young man named Black Blues, and it's this queen named Rain. Rain told Black Blues, like, hey, you need to go check these men out. It was me and my brother's named Self the Poet, my brother in rhymes, you know. She like, you need to go check them out, man. They doing their thing, they're really good. I feel like they'll be a great addition to the team. They was wanting to create a poetry team at the time, slam poetry. We knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about it. But man, they brought me on, they brought him on. They started rehearsing with us. They took us to Nationals. Nationals is a big ass poetry competition where everybody from around the world, 5 people's on the team, over 50 to 100 teams, you know what I'm saying, coming in there, man. And it's like, man, we gotta compete against all these people. And everybody dope, you know, but they groomed us to that before we got there. You know, Rain and Black Blues did, man. But what they did with my poetry, what I can say, is I used to just get a topic and just write on that topic. They helped me open up my mind to Stop being just one-sided about it. Your opinion isn't the only one that matters. So they, like, the way I feel like I write now is, what if it was just an opinion? Like, I'm not telling you what's right, what's wrong. I just have this opinion. How you feel about this? And that's how I write now.
Putting yourself in other folks' shoes.
But in nowadays, to put value on something, you have to put it in front of people without them moving. Like, for a TV to be worth something, you gotta advertise that mud on TV. You know what I'm saying? For a candy bar to be worth something, you gotta start making commercials now. You know, so that's what we need. We need publicity. You know, we need to be seen by the right eyes, and the right eyes is pretty much everybody that have a heart for words, a heart for poetry, a heart for flow. And then we're gonna open up venues. That's what's gonna happen. Like, venues bigger than what we're doing. We doing arenas now, you know what I mean? Like, the Toyota Center need to be us. The NRG need to be us. Like, Super Bowl performances need to be, you know what I'm saying? We need to be in there doing poetry, bro. Like, that need to be us, seriously. And if it ain't everybody else, that ain't what their mindset is, I'll be the reason why it come from Houston. Cause that's what my mindset is.
Be that spark. Just like that whole flag.
The only reason it ain't been done is because somebody ain't done it.
Carlos Wallace, President, CEO, Soul Creators, President, Soul Poetry, co-creator of P.E.N.S, two-time best-selling author. Well, I want to go back to the very first show that we had at the Improv. I want to say, man, it was like 5 or 6 years ago. It was Queens of the Mic. It's all female lineup, and just the energy from the artists with regards to the information that they was sharing throughout the artistry, like, you know, with the spoken word. It was just a whole different feel than I've ever had before, you know. Of course, I really enjoy comedy, but after that, man, I really fell in love with poetry. It was just a whole different dynamic with regards to live entertainment. With spoken word, a venue of this magnitude, you know, 500 plus, really broadens the horizons, right? First of all, you're entertaining a much bigger audience. So you're reaching people that sometimes never been to a poetry or a spoken word event ever, you know.
Didn't even know one existed.
Didn't even know it existed, right? And so from there, it's like, oh, wow. You know, we pass out comment cards at every show. And I take the time out and read every single card. And some of the comments that I'm reading just blows my mind with regards to how the different artists touched, you know, certain audience members, the different poems, just the experience in itself. So that tells me alone that it was made for an audience of this size. As an artist, you have to have an ego. You have to, your mentality is that you're great. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an artist, I'm a writer, so I think I'm the best writer ever, you know? So as an artist, I understand that side. So it's my job as the leader to help them put that energy in a positive direction. There's a big difference in saying you're the best without saying you're better than everybody else. There's nothing wrong with saying you're the best. But you can say that without downing or downplaying the talents of another person. It's just saying, hey, I'm the best, and that's how I feel. And everyone next to you should feel the exact same way. So when you instill that, now every person that hits that stage will give their best. And so if you leave the night with all 10s, right, you just leave with all 10. Everybody won. And the audience won, the venue won, the producer won, and most importantly, the artist won. Yeah, listen, one of the terms I hate more than anything is starving artists. Like, why is it the artist is the only person in the entire circle that's starving? The audience isn't starving, the house owner isn't starving, the producer isn't starving. No, I want artists to understand the business side of everything as well. And that also goes into our meetings. You know, we talk about the business. It's not just about entertaining and we go home. My goal is for every artist to eventually pay their bills and live off of what they love. If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I want them to eventually be entrepreneurs based on their art form. And it's not just on the stage. You know, we have artists that are, you know, they paint, create their material, their shirts, jackets, sweatshirts. I mean, it goes beyond, you know, some are actors and actresses, but there's so many things. Like the stage is just the beginning. That's their intro. And then go from there. Just like comedy, same in comedy. I tell every artist, you will never outwork me. If you work hard, I'm gonna work harder. And again, it's gonna go beyond the stage. It's you know, my goal is to have you in front of the entire world. So if you challenge me with your work ethic, I'm gonna match it with mine.
Lysandria Nagbe, aka Adam's Eve. I'm from the north side of Houston, Texas. I was 18. I performed back when Shadow Bar was Paisanos downtown. I was terrified. But I got on the stage, Seven was hosting, did my first piece, got a standing ovation, and I haven't looked back. So the funny thing is, I started writing when I was a Girl Scout. I was a Brownie Scout. The first poem I published was in Orbit magazine when I was a Brownie Scout. And my mom was just like, oh, look at my baby. So she was telling everybody. And then, you know, when I would get in trouble or I would get reprimanded, my mom would tell me, go to your room, go write it down. How you feeling? You know, I don't like the way you responded, go write. And then they would start reading my journals like, who taught you how to write like this? I remember one time my dad told me to write a letter to apologize for my behavior, and he thought my mom wrote it. And she's like, nuh-uh, I had nothing to do with that. Your daughter sat there at the table and wrote that herself. So then it was just encouraging me my grandmother bought me a thesaurus, and it was then just encouraging me to expand my vocabulary, to like really be descriptive in what I wanted to say so I didn't sound repetitious. And it helped me in school too. Like starting off with what should have been punishments ended up being something that I go to now. It's like my release from the world. I don't think spoken word can be taught. I think a lot of people would want to be able to do it, but to be able to truly do it, commit to it, and put in the sweat equity that artists like me put into it, to be able to do it consistently and with the passion that we have, that's something that's natural. You can't be taught that. I know it feels different coming out of my mouth. I've always had that feeling, but it tastes a little different when you say it out loud.
Spiritual hibernation. Nothing can sustain you but the breath and the Spirit of God. But I got good news for you. Because in the spring, I said in the spring, he'll start to unleash some things. He'll start to release some things, unshackle some things, deliver us from some things. And if we just try him with the faith of a mustard seed, he'll start to birth some things. Just like babies learning to walk and birds learning to fly, I'm talking about being bold on this journey of Christ. I don't know about you, but there's going to be times I want to quit and I want to sit right there on the ground like all the world is falling down on my back. But I challenge you to reach down deep in your back pocket, grab that prayer, that spiritual defibrillator, and go like this. And bounce right back. Don't throw in the towel. Don't throw your hands in the air and say, I quit, because I promise you, in the end, this journey with Christ is all worth it.
The biggest hindrance to me performing at the Improv, for me doing the shows outside of church, is what are my church members going to think? What is my pastor going to think when he sees me on stage with such a diverse group of individuals? So members from my church have actually come because they wanted to see for themselves what I do. And the beauty of this show, you're going to make me cry. The beauty of this show is I can be myself. I don't have to be like anybody else. And I think that's what's the most important for me. Is I first started off thinking that I had to, I'm ready. I knew this was going to strike a chord. I'm always nervous. I'm always nervous before a show because I want to do different poems. I want people to know that Adam's Eve is not just the church girl poet. She's not just, oh, she's going to come in here and talk about God today. People matter to me, and I want my poetry to reach people. I don't want to just get up. You know how when somebody's talking and when you leave their presence, you're like, why did I just waste 15 minutes of my time listening to this person? Didn't get anything. I'm not uplifted. I have no revelations of anything that should inspire me to move forward into something else. I want to be a thought-provoking poet. I want to be somebody that people can relate to. And being a part of this team, being a part of the shows, it helps me, it strengthens my voice. I don't have to worry about the other artists, like, oh, she biting, she taking some of what I got, because we each have our own lane. That's profound. Each of us has our own lane, but we still can come together and put on a show that there's something for everybody.
Damon Saunders, also known as MC Lero, from Bridgeport, Connecticut, now in Houston, Texas. My poetry is a little different. It comes from a different place. It's like Common said how he would get his rhymes, it'd be like a download. And that's how it feels to me. It's a download from God. So I gotta catch it when it comes. So it's never like on schedule, oh cool, let's go write this poem. Nah, it'll be like poem. I gotta catch it. You know, I gotta catch it before he takes it away.
We cry, these songs, these battles, these books, these speeches are just our morning tears of Africa, sentenced 146,000 days to be enslaved and trademark as a buck to the system. We trade bucks for souls entrusted within the system. We cry for bread, play for debt, hope for wealth, and pray for less. How is it that we remember what we've been taught to forget, calling for promise while being sought for sex by the barbarian left, oh mama? We still cry for you in Jesus, oh mama. We still cry for you in Muhammad, oh mama. We still cry for you in English, Spanish, speaking, slaying the spirits, asking about your fallen sons and fatal disappearance. Your body is a dream. Theory of mythology and vision. When my palm presses the globe in the back of the classroom, my fury bleeds tears down my cheeks. We forget to remember you and remember to forget you, but somehow we shout, we scream, we sing, we dance, we speak, we teach, we read, we run, we...
I think poetry is needed in schools because it's a way to release. A lot of these kids are depressed. And the reason why they're depressed, they have no outlets. They don't have enough camaraderie. They're too busy trying to run from law enforcement and run from this and run from home and run from abuse and running from all these issues. There's nowhere for them to release. Aurelia, the Poetic Soul Child, said, I want you to come to my school. She was teaching at a school and she said, this is on some Joe Clark stuff. These kids is not gonna listen. So I don't know if y'all gonna be able to do it, if y'all gonna need mics or whatever. I'm like, sis, you already know how we get down. We vets in this thing, just give us the room, we gonna do the rest. I started off my poem, I said, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. They putting our black babies on the slave block. And I repeated that a couple times just to balance the room out, because they were talking. I never like people to calm the crowd down for me, because to me that's not authentic. I want to know my words are hitting you. I don't want someone to calm the crowd down. It's me and the crowd, leave us alone. It's just us now. And if my words if I'm spitting worthy words, they will listen. That's how I allow them to judge me. Is what you're saying to me worth us to listen? And that's how I know if I'm doing my job. So once we did that, we finished the program. They listened to it. It was amazing. They loved it, and she was so amazed. She was like, I can't believe it was so successful. And that let me know, like, the children really need an outlet. They want to hear the children want something other than just rap songs about cars, clothes, and women and guns. They want something, but there's no alternative because we're not inputting these alternative influencers, like people that look like them that don't, we may not be riding in a Maserati, and we know how they feel. We can tell, we can help them cope and get through stuff more than you know, a rapper can. Yeah, because you know, and they MCs are able to do their thing too, but you know, we're out here too. And we're right here in their neighborhoods, and we're spitting positive stuff that the parents wish the mainstream guys would do, but you need to bring your kids to a poetry show. You need to bring them to an open mic, not just to see us, but to see that he has people that look like him that will allow him to express. He can freely express. He can get out. He can cry on stage. He can come. If he sees enough of Lero, he'll know he can cry on stage. If he sees enough, if a sister sees enough of Courtney Lynn and Lady 380, they know that they can put their pain of their relationships and their childhood on stage. If they see enough of Miracle on stage, they know they can talk about their addictions or getting over, you know, these are heroes, unsung.
They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but a mugshot makes me a prisoner of silence. Chains on my Adam's apple, featured in forbidden photography, capturing my black side. But if the color of my skin were different, well, everything would be all white. I mean, everything would be all right. Just ask Brock. His name was Brock Allen Turner, a 20-year-old Stanford swimmer sentenced for sexual assault. I guess 3 to 6 months was enough time to let his dick cool off. Apparently, ice baths wasn't enough. Who knew media's Polaroid would shake his story, snatching glamour shots out of his gallery, forcing you to buy into the picture. Now that's the true definition of photoshopped. So the next time I'm arrested, use a picture of me and my daughter at the beach. And as it speak to you, listen to how I teach her that when drowning, keep your hands visible, because your words will mean a thing. You ain't the first person that was ignored while yelling, I can't breathe. They'll all be goners if y'all keep locking us up for being fathers. I was only showing her that even in good times, you still gotta keep your head above water. And the next time I'm guilty for listening to music, snatched from my vehicle, prove my innocence, go back to my childhood and use images of me watching cartoons. Show them how your stories are just about a media. Black man trying to be all that he can be, yet only get Captain America. Can't eat a bowl of Frosted Flakes without being labeled a serial killer. A lactose intolerant America teaches us to never cry over spilled blood, but if a picture is worth 1,000 words, tape my lids to my forehead so everyone could see the pain in my eyes. Then snatch it off the internet once they start realizing I wasn't alive. Sandra Bland. She lost her life for doing what they've been doing to the system on a daily basis. Getting over. Apparently, if you questioning them, then you asking for it. But if you know I had suicidal thoughts, why would you provide the block for me to hang on? This marvelous media treats me as a mannequin, dressing me in costumes, making me model for you. But can't you feel your eyes molding, accepting manipulation? A mugshot. A mugshot is a mistake frozen in time that doesn't deserve a second chance. So the next time I'm the headliner on the news, you can treat me as Brock. Choose the perfect filter. Better yet, let me use my light-skinned face. Show everyone that if your skin was camera-friendly, then your problems can be gone in a flash.
My name is Felicia Hankins, also known as Miracle the Poet. Poetry into society to present you an art that is not only transparent, it's relatable, it's soothing to a soul who is in pain, It's bringing you from a negative mind state to a positive mind state. It's not only painting without the hand, it's painting with the verbal language. It's needed in society. Marriage, alcohol, which was the main, because going through my marriage, being young, we drunk a lot. And then coming out of that, my dad passing 3 years ago, I drank a lot, and that led me to write my piece, Alcohol. And although I wrote my piece, Alcohol, I still didn't stop drinking. I just wrote the piece. So today makes 94 days alcohol free, because in September gave me an experience, but I remember chaos, you know. And I told myself that next morning I woke up on 9/7/2019 that I have to remove anything that's not in alignment with my purpose. And alcohol was only a corruption in the journey. And that's the main thing that...
Is that bad?
I mean, although, you know, you don't have social, I'm cool. But if I drink too much and if it's in a certain setting, then I wake up the next morning feeling so guilty, calling, you know, what happened, you know? I couldn't do that no more.
I remember nights driving home with him in my system. Him like Hennessy. I like my men like I like my liquor, brown and straight. Crown in one hand, but not royal, because I never managed to put it on my head. Instead, I poured it down my throat like lighter fluid looking for a match. This match be a boxing ring. And 8 shots later, I was knocked into a tequila sunrise with cocktails and mornings of waking up with sex lingering for my pores while guilt was pulling on my soul to get up. See, alcohol only loved me at my worst. I was drowning in an ocean of martinis. Dirty seas with salt around the rim of my cup. I would lick until and that became a repeat. It was as if I was having a race with death and death was winning. And even if I was spinning, alcohol became my gateway to drown my pain, but somehow my pain would always survive. So I drank hurricanes in my own storms. I was trading out my spirit for those spirits bargaining my own soul. Drinking Grey Goose just to match my gray skies. The alcohol I was served was a stain remover, taking away the memories from last night and relationships despite of. But see, I've traded out Bacardi for Cardi B, so be careful with me. Like when people enter and leave my life unexpectedly, I let go as if my hands are slippery. So excuse me if I ever seem heartless. It's just my heartbeat became the sound of people's feet walking away from me. And the only way I knew how to cope with that pain was to drink until I threw up my problems through my mouth, or wash it away with Sprite, or let Jesus take the wheel each night. I thought I was alright, but I wasn't. I do not claim to be perfect, but I do know that I serve a perfect God. And he put me in a certain situation because I wanted to grow. But in order for that to happen, it had to rain. Although at times the only rain I can see through were the tears I cry. And some days I was crying inside just to water my burning soul. I now know that I'm a masterpiece in pencil, and that God can take you from striving to arriving. So instead of alcohol in my sweat glands, I have the word of God in my hands. Instead of drinking, I am praying. So before I ever reach for that cup again, I reach for my pen and pad to release, because I can never, ever, ever drink at that level again.
Yo, I'm Black Snow, the Third Coast Poet. Been doing this thing since about 1998. Got nothing but love for the H-Town scene. They call me the Godfather of Poetry, man. I'm from Gas, Texas, the land of legends, same streets, same dreams. And I'm just glad to be here to talk about what I love to do, and that's spoken word and poetry on the Houston scene. I mean, as a little kid, I knew I could write. I write because I'd read a lot. I don't know, somehow my mom encouraged me to be a reader. And as a result of being a reader, I tried my hand at writing. And sometimes I would write these short stories or rhyming stories. which were poems, and I'd throw it away. Yeah, as a little kid, because I didn't really, that's not what I wanted to be, man. And, you know, who grows up saying they want to be a poet? You know, you want to be a football player or something like that. And then once I recognized that it was a gift, you know, a gift, that's something I couldn't kill because I didn't want to do it, but it was still there. Every day it was still there. I could still write when I got sad or when I was happy or when I felt politically, when things were incorrect, the society was not going the way I thought it should go. I would write about it versus doing something to someone or anything like that. So that's why I looked at my writing as therapeutic. It was a form of therapy. And then the stage is a whole different thing. See, there's those who write and never recite. They write all their feelings, they got all this work, and they never share that. But for me, it was different. I had all this work, and for me, I had to share it. Can't keep it. What good does it do if it's in this closet? No one hears it. No one gets to hear you do Lil Johnny. No one gets to hear you recite Miss Johnson because you kept her in a closet. So to me, that's what the passion came. That's where my passion came. Was getting on the stage and sharing to an audience those words that I had written. Man, I could talk about how I started with the venues. I host shows. I mean, and I've been hosting shows for almost 20 years. I started with the Sports Box Lounge. So all the vets out there, they gonna know. When I say that's over on West Belford, that was back in 1999.
Still there?
No, I don't think it's still there. It's right next to Rhythm, where old Club Rhythms used to be. Right. Well, there was a venue called the Sports Box Lounge. That's where I started hosting shows. My whole purpose for hosting the show was to get the poets paid. So I am like the pioneer for making sure that poets got paid for their performances. Because prior to that, we had been opening up shows for comedians, singers, everybody. And people coming to see the poets, but we weren't getting paid for it. We were getting the exposure.
So that,
you know,
that's been going on, poetry like that?
Absolutely.
80s, 70s?
Oh man, long time, man. Poetry is one of the oldest art forms. Yeah, they would open up for other people. And you know, in Houston, yeah, there's people that could, yeah, lots of poets were doing that. And so that predates all of the stuff that we're doing now. Okay, so for me, you know, all of this stuff was destined to happen. That's what growth looks like. And so I guess I don't know if I'm rambling or whatever, but it's okay. I'm gonna talk a little bit about these venues because they need to know how far we've come and what we've done. So we started over there on West Belford with a little thing that we got the owner to agree to give us half the door. We were charging at the door. So that half went to the poets and we split it up amongst the ones who performed. And then we created something called features. And that's where one poet or two poets were featured and they would get paid for those features. And that started back in almost 2001, man. Yeah, in 2001, and we started doing that. And I've been doing that ever since.
Now, first it was intimate rooms, like maybe 20, 30 people. Now you're spitting in front of 500
plus, man.
That's an experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's even going to be more growth. I think you're going to experience more growth because of the organic nature of the spoken word. And I think that the people are going to start longing for that. They already like it. They don't know they like it until they see it. And so my job was, like I said, an escort. I made sure that people got to see it all across the city, different places where you're not supposed to go, like Mr. Hayes, the club. They say that ain't gonna work down there. I stayed down there 7 years, you know, and it was just by choice that we had to move on. But just like G's and Z's, we were down there for 9 years. So longevity kind of just starts taking effect once you just start doing something you love. And so for me, it was a labor of love. I just love doing shows and being in shows and having people to see what we did. Because believe it or not, I remember a time when we had no venues for people that looked like me. This color. There were no black venues for you to go spit your poems. And I remember those days. So my goal was to make sure I worked hard to make sure we had a place for people that looked like me could go spit. And that's what Black Snow was all about. It brings you to the name, Blacks Now. You take the word blacks and snow and you put it together and you get me, Blacks Now. Yeah, so that's kind of what drove me to do. Yeah. Yeah, that drove me to do, you know, what I do, man. And I want to ensure that we have a place for the youth coming after me. Once people get involved in our community, they become, it's like a fraternity. The Houston poetry scene, I don't know what's this, but the Houston poetry scene is almost like a fraternity, man. Once you get baptized into this, hey man, you're a member for life.
As the blood flows, the cuts heal, the ashe grows. They say walk in your light. Lift up your purpose, lift up your fellow beings, see the unseen, pray for the lifeless, meditate with the spirit, meditate away the drama, call up your ancestors from the ground, keep the protection of juju around your neck. Don't let them come incorrect unless they come ready to get checked. Walk in your magic, stand in your power, every second, moment, hour, be eternal peace until you transcend. Then go from Orun to Aye and do it again. That Ashe is growing, I see it in your eyes. You question your spiritual leaders. Why? You question yourself, but the knowing is what you were taught to fear. But if our ancestors didn't pray, you wouldn't be here. Knock 3 times and call on their names. Blood of my blood, flesh of my flesh. Those worried souls that can't seem to rest. Walk like you got 10,000 walking with you because you do. Oh, I can see that Ashe growing in you.
I'm Robert Bob, aka Scott Free. Well, now I stay in Houston, Texas, on the southwest side. I was introduced to poetry when I was in Iraq, 2007. I was there from 2005 to 2012, but I got into poetry in 2007, September 23rd, 2007. In Iraq, I was on Victory Base, and we mostly had to walk it. Wherever we had to go, we had to walk. You know, you can imagine it's not the safest thing to do. It was late. I had to get back to my chew, which is where we sleep. And I asked someone for a ride, and they told me, "Hey man, look, you gotta go with me to this poetry event first, because I gotta go to this poetry night first." And my first thought was like, "Oh, there's no poetry," because you know, most people, if you've never been to a spoken word event, you probably thinking to yourself, it's like Shakespeare or it's boring or it's, but the way that it was introduced to me, I was like, dang, I didn't know they did it like this. You know what I'm saying? And so immediately, man, I was hooked. I was like, yeah, I like this. There's no limit when it comes to poetry. You're not confined to a stereotype or a beat or a topic or even a length. You know what I mean? You're not a slave to however many bars you got to do. It's just being that what poetry offered, man. That's why I ended up choosing the name Scott Free, because that's the way poetry made me feel. I didn't have to worry about maintaining some type of image as a hip hop artist or maintaining some type of narrative. Poetry is completely, you're free to express yourself however you want to do it, or whatever you want to do, how short, how long, how crazy, how emotional you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. You're absolutely free.
I was only 5, but I will never forget my mother's cries, her busted lip, her swollen eyes, her screaming for help, just trying to survive his true nature. No longer disguised by lies, he's putting his hands on my mama. And the only reason this fool alive is because I was only 5, otherwise he would have died that night. I swear to God on my life, I would have tried that night to kill him my damn self. Her gasping for every breath, I can only imagine how his hands felt wrapped around her throat, choking away the hope of her raising her daughters with their father. But why bother being a father when you can be a magician? Watch the hands, watch the hands, watch the man that told her that he loved her beat my mother. Watch the hands and you'll discover the truth is being uncovered. If you would just watch the hands, you will see the misdirection in his deception. And his perception is that I beat her because I love her. I beat her because I can. I beat her because beating her made me feel like more of a man. I beat her because I wanna beat her into submission. I beat her because I have to beat her till she listen. Listen, if she don't listen when he beat her, he treat her like a Verizon. You hear me now? You hear me now? Good. Beat her real good. Beat her till he mugged, show the point was understood. Beat her like she never knew a nigga would. He beat her till she bleedy. Beat her cause she needy. He beat her like he missed her. He missed her. Beat her like she sealy.
I remember one time I spit in the Saddam Palace. It's crazy in the palace, big, huge palace, man. And here I am, you know, new to the game, but I'm making big moves. You know what I'm saying? I'm overseas, starting my career internationally. Performing, my first performance was in front of over 800 people. I didn't know it was gonna be that many people, by the way. They told me after I was at that poetry night, they was like, hey, they heard me say some things. They was like, you need to audition for this poetry slam that we doing. I never been to a poetry slam, didn't know what I was getting myself into. Did the audition, they was like, yeah, we want you on the show. I'm backstage. I get on stage and I'm looking out at a sea of people and I'm like, this is not what I expected, because when I first went to poetry night, there was like 15 maybe people in there. It was real small, you know what I mean? So when they said I was gonna do it, I was like, I'm down. We go live October 5th, 2018, myself and Poetic Courtney Lynn. We started a little hole in the wall. We said, we had an idea of what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it. It wasn't about the size of the audience, it was about the quality of the people that's in the room. And we said we're gonna maintain our quality, we're gonna have a consistency in quality, creativity. We not budging on that. We're not cutting corners on that. We're not making exceptions on that. We're gonna hold you to a standard, and it is what it is. If you don't like it, there's always another open mic you can go to, because we don't do open mics. We do controlled mics. What does that mean? That means I control the quality of my show. In poetry, everybody thinks they can play in the major leagues because no one is holding each other to a standard. That's why you're not getting paid the top dollar. That's why, because you're inconsistent. Even the people that's holding each other to a standard, it's inconsistency. One minute you want them to be great, next minute anybody can be on the stage. There's no consistency, so therefore the customer base doesn't have an expectation. When people come to a We Go Live show, they don't give a damn who on stage. They have an expectation to say, we want a great show. When people come from out of town and people here in Houston go to a poetry event, they should know that there's levels to this shit. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of open mics, man. If you don't like being held to a standard, you can go to another open mic, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? But when you want to be on this platform, you gotta come with your A game. And I'm not saying you ain't good. You just gotta come, gotta come with your A game. There's certain levels that you have to, you get in the NFL, you might be the best person might have been the best person on your team in college. Nobody not saying you're not good, but now in the NFL, everybody runs the same 40. You might have been the best player on your team in high school. When you got to college, guess what happened? You rode the bench. Because there's levels to this shit.
When I came into the game, there was a spot back in the day called Mahogany Cafe. I never got to spit in Mahogany. It was just rumored about how dope this spot was. It was the height of the neo soul push. You know what I mean? Music Soul Child had just come out. Jill Scott had just started popping. Man, in fact, bruh, I remember going to Jill Scott's first listening party here, in Houston, and then like I started doing my thing. You did, and then a couple years later, I get this phone call. Hey man, it's this new artist coming out. He's gonna be doing a concert. Watch this here. He's gonna be doing a concert at the Engine Room, and they want you to open up for him. I said, what's his name? I said, John Legend. I ain't heard of cat, but I'll do it. I'm gonna charge $200. You know what I mean? Man, and it was my first time seeing John Legend perform, and like, if John Legend was doing something at the Engine Room, you know how early that was. After Mahogany, there was a spot called Muddy Waters. Muddy Waters was on Alameda, on the block over from what is now the Turkey Leg Hut. Wow. What we call Little Harlem back in the day. And my friend Kyle Lynch, K Lynch, aka Moot, calls me one day and said, hey man, ride with me. I don't know why he said ride with him, because I was driving. But I pick him up, we go to Muddy Waters, and this is my first time at an open mic in the city. I don't know how it goes. In fact, I didn't even sign my name on the list. K Lynch put my name on the list, and they called me up, and I rocked the mic. There was a dude named Brother Said that did a poem called 40 Cats. And he was dope. But there was also a gentleman present named Zen. And Zen was like, say bro, you might need to keep doing this. And I mean, you know, Zen, real hip hop, you know, raw to it, real to it. And he could tell that I was kind of like, yeah, whatever, you know. I remember he grabbed me and, hey, listen, you can go far with this. You kind of different. I'm like, okay, you know what I mean?
I learned that to eat, I had to spin, and I'm full of it. So every time I shit on it, I'm just spraying lies. Like I can't see an ass from a mile away with these big ass eyes. It's like it's a room like it's nothing. Low key, can't see me, but you can hear the buzzing. I'm bold, right in front of your nose, from the ceiling to the floor, down to like one of your pinky toes. Can't see my next move, I'm on top of you like clothes. When I decide, let's go. I froze in the window, perched high. I must be a flop, cause it doesn't matter what shit I'm on. Haters come to do me harm. I watch them get up and cross the room to get in my mix. It stirs me while I'm fixed. Ain't this a bitch?
Man, it was crazy. You know, the doors would open at 6. Man, it would be people standing outside shadow bar 4:30, 5 o'clock, waiting to get on the list. Like, it would be a line, and like as soon as we would open the door, the list would be full. I didn't know how many people would show up. With the popularity growing, it went from being 4 or 5 poets to 5, 10 poets, 10, 15 poets. Then it got to the point, man, we had 25, 30 poets. We was like, hey, we need a break. Right. So we created an intermission. And Joe started jumping on the mic during intermission, and the crowd would love it. Like, you know, just on some wild. He turned it into a club. Right. And people would party, man, and get lit. And people would trip. The owners would trip that we could take it up that notch and then bring it back down and continue the show. Ricky Smiley hears me and was like, yo, I want you to open my show every night. I'll never forget. At that point, I say, yo, put my name on the marquee. Ali Sadiq said, you're not a comic. You'll never be on the marquee here. This is for comics. And I was like, wow. I never forget. It's a very crushing feeling when, you know, one of your mentors just shut you down like that. Man, when they opened the door to the Empire, bro, it was a different level of joy in my heart. Cause I felt like a door that had always been closed to us was open. I didn't care who did it. I didn't know it could be done. You know, and it happened. And you know, that's why I've always applauded that effort, because it's a door that, you know, we were not allowed in at one point in time. You know, yeah, you can come and share your art, but no one's going to, you will always be a surprise guest. You know, that's how it was. So we complete a 10-year run. We complete a 10-year run, bro, and I had never felt anything like this. I'm talking about heartbreak. If you see any of the pictures or video from that last Sunday at that last Sunday at Shadow Bar, man, you could. I hate to even revisit that emotion. Like, I had no idea what was next. It came very abruptly, and I'll never forget one of the one of the most hurtful moments was having to tell the squad that, hey, you know, this is our last Sunday. We got one more week. And I never forget the look in Nikki's eyes, bro. Nikki teared up, and I mean, everybody lost it. Nikki broke, and it was just everybody in tears, you know what I'm saying?
10-year run?
After a 10-year run. Shadow Bar. So we had a farewell show, and we're done. And we sat out for a minute, because, you know, such a foundation had been laid. We couldn't go anywhere, you know what I mean? I wasn't sure if I wanted to go anywhere at all. People were hitting us up. Hey, come over here.
I was about to ask you, they should have been tugging at you.
Man, they were, bro. It was venue after venue, but this venue didn't have any chairs and tables, or this venue didn't have a stage.
But set up for,
this venue didn't have lights, you know, whatever. So I sat back, and I got a phone call from Ikem, from In the Mix.
In the Mix, shout out Ikem.
Yeah, word to Ikem, and Ikem was like, you know, me and Ikem got a code. What up, San? What up, kid? Yeah, he was like, yo, Seb, this is the opportunity you really want to take. It's ideal, you can't lose. And I was like, okay, cool. So let me see the spot. Go check out Bamboo. And this is all Ikem orchestrating this. The venue doesn't know me, I don't know them. You know, that's bottle popping culture. And Ikem has told them, like, hey, listen, your liquor sales on Sunday night will be enough to pay the bills for the club. Handle this, watch this dude, because it's a trip. I never forget, me and Lonnie, who was the GM at the time, me and Lonnie going back and forth. We put off the relaunch because me and Lonnie can't come to terms, because he keep telling me what's not gonna work. And I keep telling him, you don't know what you're dealing with, bro. Just chill. So Lonnie said, so what time are we gonna start? I said, we're gonna start at 6 o'clock on a Sunday. No one's gonna come here at 6 o'clock on a Sunday. 5:30 hits. There's nowhere to park. There's a line outside, and he's just standing outside in awe. And I'm like, yeah, I told you. You know what I mean? So, that kicked off the Bamboo run. I don't even remember how long we were at Bamboo. After that, at this point, it just all gets a little blurry, man. You know, I used to tell the poets, y'all need to travel more. Y'all don't know what we have. And every time they travel, they come back and be like, they just not us. I was telling you, nowhere you go, there will be a couple dynamic poets, but the entirety of it, like how you said, it's every week.
Yeah.
We eating. nobody is dependent of anyone and we eating like this, man, that does not exist nowhere. Not in New York, not in LA, not in DC, not in nowhere. Nowhere. We got something that's special here in Houston, period. And I stand on that.